music with my bro. Willing to dig it, yes or no? Here we go on with the show, the Hear Me Out Bro podcast.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Hear Me Out Bro podcast. This week is episode 26. We're kicking off Folkuary with just a straight up folk episode. My name's Eric, and I'd like to introduce my brother Clark.
Howdy, folks.
If you want to listen along to our playlist, you can find our channel on YouTube by searching for @HMOBP, HMOBP for Hear Me Out Bro podcast. And you can find our episodes there as well. If you're listening along and you want to help us out with spreading the word, maybe drop a comment on any of your favorite songs that you hear and let them know that the Hear Me Out Bro podcast brought you there. Also, if you want to send us any feedback, show ideas, critiques, you can reach out to us at hearmeoutbropodcast@gmail.com. And if you want to follow us on Facebook, we have a page there, the HMOB, H-Mob. So if you want to be a member of the HMOB, go ahead and follow us there on Facebook. I hope everybody enjoyed all our movie and TV stuff. And this month we're going to be covering folk music.
Once you're done watching everything that you were inspired to watch over the last month.
Yeah. So what were you thinking for folk music? Like, did you have any criteria?
I did and I didn't. Like, kind of went for, like, not amplified stuff. Although, you know, some of it obviously is. But, I don't know. It's just kind of the cheesy, like, Senate pornography definition. Like, I don't know how to define it, but I know it when I see it kind of thing.
Right.
It's like a lot of the stuff that I added, I don't know, it might be considered like world music, but it's like, it's just folk music from a different part of the world. Like, why do you have to put this like othery label on it? Like, oh, well, ours is folk music. Yours is world music.
Yeah, I tried to stay away from world, what could classify as world music.
Mm-hmm.
And since we're doing folk rock for next week, I just only went with acoustic stuff, you know, kind of guy or girl with guitar or like singing group, kind of the traditional A Mighty Wind type of bands.
Right.
So,
yeah, and it's like, I like at least half of the artists that you added to the playlist. Like, I'm a fan of at least half of them, and then like some of them I haven't heard of, so I'm excited. So it's just like I kind of added some stuff that I like that, like, well, it's folk music, but it's from over here and blah blah blah.
Yeah. I also tried to skip stuff like, oh well, you know, we'll do an episode on music from Africa or Indian music. So, you know, that could be considered folk music or traditional music, right. But I just tried to stick with, I don't know, kind of Anglo stuff that won't be covered in other episodes that we're going to do.
Yeah. So, like, little behind the scenes, I insisted that we just have a high-lung episode. Like,
yeah,
might end up being a shorter one because it's like, what really, you know, what could be said about one of their songs could be said about, you know, most of their other stuff. So it's just some highlights.
Yeah. Also, like, I know if you think about like the Smithsonian type of recordings, you know, like all the Alan Lomax type stuff.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you have blues, you have bluegrass, you have stuff like that. And I tried, we'll probably do a blues episode, and we'll probably do a bluegrass episode. So I tried to kind of shy away from that kind of stuff. So I just kind of went for like the folk scare kind of stuff, or like stuff loosely adjacent to that. but there is some older stuff, and there is a little tiny bit of bluegrassy stuff in here, but not. Well, yeah, I guess it's pretty straight bluegrass, but like kind of in the jug bandy tradition. Or
I'm gonna try really, really hard to not add a sound clip from the Metalocalypse blues episode when we do the blues episode, our blues episode.
We'll see.
So like, and over there's where I murdered my wife. I wrote the song "Train a Comin' Blues." It's like, what?
Oh, man. Well, should we jump into the list?
Sure.
So this first one is kind of a Smithsonian-y kind of thing. My first pick is Leadbelly singing "Goodnight, Irene." Anyways, yeah. So the little like folk music, A through Z or whatever.
Right.
Little Dewey Decimal Smithsonian collection thing.
So I remember he had the Robert Johnson box set like in the 90s when they like digitized like all the known recordings.
A lot of that old stuff, yeah.
And that's about when I got into some of the other like OG Delta blues dudes, and like listening to Leadbelly, like you end up hearing like I think more than almost any other like blues, like super old blues artist, like you end up hearing more covers of his songs than anybody else's.
Yeah,
but it's like,
yeah, so many people have done that song.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, I've heard this song before. Oh, I've heard that song before. Oh, I've heard this song before. Like, man, did everybody just rip everything off from Leadbelly?
Not everything, but
like,
yeah, a lot. Or borrowed from.
Right.
I don't know about ripped off.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Inspired by. Yeah, I don't remember if I ever learned in like, did he ever have any like mythos about him or like lore? Like Robert Johnson.
I don't know too much about him. But no, legend. He's not one of the like down to the crossroads kind of guys.
But like B.B. King had Lucille.
Yeah.
His guitar.
Yeah. Pulled that out of a burning juke joint or something.
Right. Like
ran back into a burning juke joint to rescue it.
Yeah. Like the guitar Leadbelly's playing in that video. Like it's got some history to it. So I was just wondering if there's any legend behind it or whether it has a name or
I don't think so. Yeah. No. Yeah, I don't know a whole lot about him. I should have done some more research, but I don't know. I was just trying to pick the right songs. But it looked like an old Gibson or something to me. But like a lot of those old time players, they just played like catalog guitars or department store guitars. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, it looked like that thing had seen some miles too. It's pretty beat up, shaped back together.
Yeah, another type of folk music is kind of the protesty kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That was a big thing during the 60s was, like Joan Baez and, all these protesty kind of singers. But the original protesty kind of singer was Woody Guthrie. And I really, it's like Dust Bowl era kind of stuff.
Right.
And I like this song, and I was going to put Woody Guthrie's version on here, but as I was looking for it, I came across this Pokey Lafarge one.
Nice.
So, apologies to Woody Guthrie, but it's like we're talking about Woody Guthrie just because of folk music, but couldn't pass up the opportunity to listen to the Pokey Lafarge cover of Woody Guthrie's Do Re Mi.
Yeah. Man, I love Pookie Lafarge. I wish he would play more with the South City 3. Like, all the times I've seen him live, it's just been him and his, it was his fiance, now it's his wife playing. Like, just him and his guitar, and then she'd come out and they'd sing some duets to, like, wrap up the evening's proceedings.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like, man.
Yeah, full band just swings a little more, and
yeah, not that he's not totally awesome on his own. Like, yeah, that guy has like so much charm and personality and talent. And yeah, he's amazing.
Yeah, Woody Guthrie's biggest song is "This Land Is Your Land," and a lot of people complain about that song. Oh, it's so colonialist and this and that, but like he wrote that as a protest song,
right?
So like, yeah, it got kind of co-opted, and they took some of the verses out,
right?
But like originally, it was kind of being, you know, like this land isn't really for everyone. So
right,
yeah,
that reminds me of the Creedence song, "Fortunate Son." It's like, it's a total protest song. It's like super anti-war and anti-establishment. I remember back before I had even a DVR, let alone streaming stuff, like being subjected to commercials, or maybe it was at mom and dad's or something, and seeing a Walmart like denim, like Walmart's denim line called Faded Glory, like their acid washed denim collection, and they were playing like a very edited version of Fortunate Son, because that song rips, and like it, it's supposed to sound all like Americana and stuff, but it's like, some folks are born made to wave the flag. Ooh, that red, white, and blue. And then they leave out and then the band plays Hail to the Chief, and they point the cannon at you. It's like, how come you don't have the cannon part while you're trying to sell jeans?
Oh man, I wonder if those jeans are made in Vietnam.
Probably. Yeah, so like the protest song that gets co-opted is just like, what? Ugh.
Speaking of movies, this next artist is hot right now, like really hot. So hopefully by including this artist, now that they're making a huge comeback because this movie that just came out will pick us up a ton of listeners. So this next song is Bob Dylan singing "Don't Think Twice, It's All Right."
Yeah.
Seems like Bob Dylan was a bit of a jerk, at least back then.
A little bit. I mean, he was a fantastic songwriter, but like,
I mean, just like a poet.
Yeah. But it's like when you really start listening to the lyrics, it's like, you just wasted my precious time. And it's like, well, her time's precious too. Like, get off your high horse, bro.
Yeah, your time's so precious that you don't know where you're going next. You just need to get out of there. Yeah. Well, the album is the freewheeling, so I guess
true.
He's pretty freewheeling, apparently.
Yeah.
Or at least sang about being that way.
I would always make fun of it, like when I worked at the post office, like one of the few magazines that people still got was Rolling Stone. I started at the end of the 90s and ended in the 2003. over that time span, like magazines just went away. But Rolling Stone, there was a consistent, at least. It went down, but like people would still get the print magazine. And so it seemed like 3 or 4 times a year Rolling Stone would somehow feature Bob Dylan on the cover.
Oh yeah, he's so revered, and like the whole Greenwich Village thing.
And it's just like,
I think if you're based out of New York, like you kind of get all those East Coast intellectuals that are like, oh, this is the new thing.
yeah,
Or like,
it's like, it's still the thing. And it's like,
yeah,
he kind of hasn't written a good song in like 50 years.
I don't know. He probably has.
But... yeah, but I don't know. It just seemed like, I don't know, a bunch of boomers just like celebrating the stuff they thought was cool when they were in their 20s.
In college, going to college.
Yeah. And it was like, it would always kind of irk me and I'd make fun of it. But it's like, but yeah, I mean, it's Bob Dylan. Like, he deserves all the accolades.
He really did like set the mold.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, like the harmonica around the neck and guy with guitar. And not only can I write poetry and wear turtlenecks, but I can play guitar too and set my poetry to music.
Right.
And there was a ton of copycats.
Oh, for sure.
Including this next dude.
Yeah.
And I mean, we've talked about him before and, but I had to include him just like as an example of like the Dylan copycats kind of that came along, that kind of started doing that kind of singing. And
yeah, I don't think we talked about him on the show. I think we just talked about him.
It might have been edited out.
It might have been edited out. This will give me another.
So we don't have to talk about him too much as part of the playlist either. Just thought if we're going to include him, this is the spot.
Yeah.
The time and the place for it.
Yeah. And I'll add a little bit after the song, but not carry on too long.
Yeah. I just remember when I was into the folk music and stuff, like I really did like some of this guy's stuff.
Oh yeah, me too.
So this is Donovan with Catch the Wind. Yeah, there's a lot of like folk scenes, I think, that people were part of.
Mm-hmm.
And like kind of the cream would rise to the top and those people would get the record deals or the attention.
Right.
If they got traction and attention, then, they could get picked out of their scene and get records put out there.
Yeah. I tend to like Donovan's a little bit later, more psychedelic kind of stuff. But yeah, he's one of the artists that I can't separate from his art. So I'm not that big a Donovan fan anymore because.
Yeah, I haven't listened to him since I was a teenager.
Yeah, turns out I don't know if he still is, bit of a creep. And by bit of, I mean a huge pedo.
So yeah, there's a lot of folk songs are about, blowing in the wind or, rambling or wandering or being a gypsy kind of vibe.
Mm-hmm.
And like Burl Ives was a big folk guy, like popular among the folk scare boomers and earlier. And kind of a good storyteller and kind of folksy, like just as a character.
Right.
And so I wanted to include his big hit, but I thought I would just play the original version by the guy who wrote the song instead, but just give like an honorable mention to Burl Ives for just being Burl Ives.
Right.
But a hit song for Burl Ives was the Big Rock Candy Mountain. So this is the original version by the person who wrote it of Big Rock Candy Mountain. This is Harry McClintock.
So good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Burl Ives version was part of the King of the North, wasn't it?
I think so. This version is on the Oh Brother Where Art Thou soundtrack.
Oh, okay.
So good. Like,
yeah. The hobo promised land.
Yeah. The Cruiser Bike Club quotes from that song quite often.
Nice.
Like the big rock candy mountain
cigarette
stuff.
trees.
Yeah. There's a lake of stew and a whiskey too. You can paddle all around them in a big canoe. Oh man. It's like
they hung the jerk who invented work.
Mm-hmm. There's no short-handled shovels. Yeah. Yeah. I always like wondered like the logistics. This is where my brain goes because I like visualize all this stuff. So like, is there one big canoe for each lake, or is there one big canoe for both lakes? Because like you would want to.
There's probably multiple canoes. He's just saying, for instance, you could do that. Not that you get in the canoe and then you go to both these lakes. Or maybe it's just one lake and one canoe. Maybe the lake is stew and whiskey.
Ugh, that's like the worst case scenario. Yeah, because I've always thought like, you want to rinse off the stew canoe before you put it in the whiskey lake. Because you don't want like chunks of beef floating around in your whiskey. That's just gross. But like the other way is fine. Like I've made stew with whiskey in it. Like, you brown the meat and then deglaze the pan with some Johnny Walker or something. Yeah, it adds that little bit of sweetness. And
yeah, at least the
other way would
cigarettes weren't in the lake.
Well, like when fall comes.
I guess during fall, when all the cigarettes fall out of the trees, it could end up in the whiskey lake.
Mm-hmm. Just the butts.
Delicious.
Yeah.
Okay, this next one, I just had to include it, like, to give a nod to Mom, because Mom was a bit of a folkie.
For sure.
And she loved John Denver.
Oh, man.
And, doing the whole guy with guitar thing, like this song just kind of puts it all in a nutshell.
Totally.
Wraps a nice bow on it. So this is John Denver with This Old Guitar. Yeah, man. I don't know. So much nostalgia with John Denver.
Totally.
And I was like that song when I was younger because, like, I don't know, like guitars have always kind of been like my prized possessions, because I didn't have tons growing up. I had a BMX bike and I had a guitar, and that was kind of it.
Mm-hmm.
And a record player and a few records, but I guess that's a lot. But yeah, guitars always went with me.
Right. Yeah, that was like peak Mom too. Like John Denver, his grandma's guitar, surrounded by stained glass.
Just like pushing all the buttons.
Mm-hmm.
I like that finger picking style of guitar. I mean, Bob Dylan did a little bit,
right?
But like John Denver, like it's a little more interesting. There's like some moving bass lines in there and stuff, but it's still kind of all like cowboy chords,
right?
More or less. But like my favorite folk is where people get like musically inventive, where they're not just like playing a song, like an old timey song.
Mm-hmm.
It's more autobiographical or like personal. And then they like make the music more texturally interesting.
Right.
But they kind of follow the same formula, but they put a bit more artistry into it, it seems like.
Mm-hmm.
So this next one is Neil Young with Don't Let It Bring You Down. That's a cool song.
Yeah.
I love Neil Young. His voice is so cool.
Yeah, I've never been that big a fan of him.
I like him.
There's something about his voice that rubs me the wrong way.
Really?
Yeah.
That's what I like. Well, that and his guitar playing, like, right up my alley. Because, like, my voice is kind of weird too.
Right.
You know? So it's like, I don't know. To me, it's like on the same wavelength or something.
Okay, fair. But
so that's a double drop D tuning.
Okay.
Like sometimes if you're just accompanying yourself, a lot of people will use open tunings to get kind of more of a drone and to get kind of more harmonically interesting stuff happening. And that's a double drop D tuning, which is actually a drop C tuning. So it's like a open D tuning, but then it's dropped. The D drop D and the D string are dropped to C. So, and that's also like kind of a popular tuning in a lot of doom metal nowadays. So it's kind of interesting that he was doing that back in the 70s. I think that might be why they call him the godfather of grunge.
Maybe.
Maybe. Yeah. So, yeah, that BBC performance, if you like Neil Young, that whole live at the BBC is really great. I mean, he does stuff with harmonica, and he just plays some really well-written songs from that early part of his solo career.
Right.
So another guy with guitar playing in drop tuning, and another popular theme for folky kind of music is sea shanties. And
yeah,
this isn't exactly a sea shanty, but it has sea shanty vibes.
Okay.
Because it talks about like ships and stuff like that.
Let me stop you right there, because this is a pet peeve of mine. And I have several shanties on my end of the playlist. There's no such thing as a sea shanty. There's just shanties. Saying the sea part is redundant. Because have you ever heard of a land shanty? There's just shanties. It's
okay.
like,
so it's the same thing.
It's like saying a two-wheeled bicycle. Like, oh, he was riding a two-wheeled bicycle. It's like, okay. Well, that's what bicycle means.
Okay.
Like,
well, this next song,
shanty, is like a song that's like related to the sea. Well,
not necessarily.
Well, I mean, it's a specific type of song that's related to the sea. Because
but it's not always related to the sea, though.
It has to be, otherwise it's not a shanty.
No.
It has to be from a sailor's point of view. Otherwise it's not a shanty.
Right, but not all sailors sail the sea.
Well, okay. You want to get
sail
technical.
The stars.
Oh, no.
There's space shanties as well.
All right.
But I figured we would do a whole space shanty episode.
Okay. Do I have to wear a cape?
Isn't it more kind of the environment that it's sung in?
Well, I mean,
that gives it that flavor.
But okay, like I will give you space because it's like there really aren't like, yeah, I mean, technically I guess there are like sci-fi space armies, but like it's always a space navy.
Yeah, they have armadas and there's space pirates.
And battleships. Space battleship Yamato, for instance.
Yeah, it's much more naval.
Yeah. So like, the void, like the space between worlds is analogous, like literally and figuratively, to the ocean and sailing. So Yeah, so that's kind of,
And even when you're on the sea, unless you're using even if you're using a sextant,
oh yeah,
you're using the stars
yeah,
to navigate.
yeah,
So
the height of the sun and the stars and stuff, and then
the Southern Cross.
even the Polynesians who would use like the swells to navigate, they still also use the stars. So
Yeah.
it's like space has always been a component to seafaring.
Okay, so this next guy
Just don't
singing.
say sea shanty. It's redundant.
Okay, well, it's that's not even what this song is, but it could be considered that.
Okay.
I love this guy. This is, and we'll probably have a whole episode on him, and he'll show up in some other things because like this folky kind of stuff isn't his main shtick.
Mm-hmm.
But when he does it, I love it, and I love this song. So this is Scott Wino Weinrich with Adrift. The sails are spun from our dreams.
Whoa.
Yeah. That guy's amazing. He's been in some of my favorite bands ever.
Yeah, you and I have talked about him before.
Yeah, The Obsessed, Spirit Caravan, some great bands.
Yep.
This other guy was kind of unappreciated in his time and only put a few albums out. And he would play folk festivals during the big folk revival in England, and people just didn't get him.
Okay.
But he was amazing, and he left us way too soon.
Oh, yeah.
And like, I think he's probably, more of his records have probably sold like in the last, I don't know, 30 years than ever did back in the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
Almost every song, they're like little tone poems, really interesting. They sound really cool because his guitar it's like a mahogany bodied guitar with super old strings on it. And yeah, just really interesting compared to just your kind of colored by numbers folk.
Right.
So this is Nick Drake with From the Morning.
It was obviously a lot like further forward in the mix, the guitar sound, but like, yeah, I could totally hear what you were talking about, like how warm and like,
yeah, it just sounds so like organic.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, back during the 60s, like that would be considered like, oh no, you need to get a Martin guitar, you know, and you need to play it like Doc Watson or whatever, you know.
Right. This is the formula.
Right. But yeah, that whole album, Pink Moon, it's all just a bunch of like 2-minute songs. They're just like little poems, you know, they're great.
Nice.
So besides just like guy with guitar, there's like vocal groups, like harmonizing as part of folk music. And, you know, there's like the Mitch, like sing along with Mitch kind of stuff. And there's, you know, like the new Christy Minstrels and, you know, like those big folk ensembles that were like a college dance troupe or something. You know? But then they're like, these guys were basically a super group, like that came together, and they just met like as part of the whole Topanga Canyon scene, and they all liked each other's music, and they just sat down to like jam. And for some reason they could just like, their voices were like chocolate and peanut butter and whatever else goes well with chocolate and peanut butter, because there's 3 of them.
Pickles.
Yeah. So this is Crosby, Stills, and Nash with Helplessly Hoping. Man, they're just, I loved that album when I was a little kid.
Mm-hmm.
I just listened to it all the time. It was like one of the first albums I got because we went to a garage sale that Dad's friend from work was having, and he had a stereo he was trying to sell and a box of records, and nobody ended up buying it, and they were like kind of closing up the garage sale, and he just like gave it to me.
Oh, nice.
So, and that was one of the records that was in there, like both their early albums, some Beach Boys, and the first Eagles' greatest hits. Yeah,
nice.
So, I think that was before you. Yeah, that was before you were even born.
Dang. Yeah, and it's like physical media. Like, yeah, you could make mixtapes and give people CDs and stuff, but like, there's something about like giving a kid or like a teenager a box of records. That was how music got shared back in the day. Like,
yeah, and they had pictures on the album covers.
Yeah,
and notes and lyrics and
yeah, it was immersive. It wasn't just like, oh, go to the app, click on the song, sit through the commercials.
And it just starts feeding you stuff.
Yeah, it's like, whoa, look at this album cover. Who are these guys?
Yeah, I mean, these guys were a total super group. So David Crosby was from the Byrds. Stephen Stills was from Buffalo Springfield. And Graham Nash was from the Hollies.
Hmm.
And they met at some party or something, and the stars aligned, and those three voices were like, whoa. And then later, like occasionally Neil Young would join them for stuff.
Right.
So then it would be Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young. And Neil Young was also in Buffalo Springfield with Stephen Stills.
Okay.
But yeah, nobody sang like that. It's just so beautiful, It wasn't all like Glee Club or anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's super cool.
This next song is kind of related to that song. If you've ever heard Sweet Judy Blue Eyes or some of the other Crosby, Stills, and Nash songs, like this one will totally make sense. This is an album that came out a couple years ago. It's DiVirgilio, Morse, and Jennings, and the song is called Everything I Am. So that's one of those albums that probably never would have gotten made if it weren't for COVID.
Uh-huh.
Because those guys are all in different bands. Like Nick DiVirgilio and Neil Morse were in Spock's Beard together, but they haven't played together since they were in Spock's Beard.
Right.
And so like COVID kind of gave them a chance to like do something remotely with each other. And then Ross Jennings is from the English prog metal group Hawken. He's their lead vocalist. Plays some guitar and stuff too. But they're all like multi-talented, multi-instrumentalist kind of guys.
Right.
A bit of a like prog nerd supergroup, like supergroup for like not mass appeal supergroup like Crosby, Stills, and Nash. But,
right.
I mean, that song's kind of a total nod to the Crosby, Stills, and Nash vibe.
Right. Yeah.
So
yeah, I could see that. I don't know. There was just something about it wasn't landing with me. Whether it was like the bongo drums or I don't know.
Yeah.
Something.
The whole album's really good. It might have been bongos. Could have been tablas, but
yeah, whatever. Yeah, whatever.
I don't know. I like the 12-string guitar, and they're all great singers. Cool that they did like a singing album.
Mm-hmm.
Not your cup of tea, though.
No, there were some like kind of Wishbone Ashy like harmonies in there that were cool, but I don't know. Still wasn't doing it for me.
Well, I love them. That whole album's really good.
Cool.
There is a song on there you would probably like, but it's like heavier. Yeah, I mean they did a bunch of stuff.
Right.
But that one just totally reminded me of Crosby, Stills and Nash. So I thought I'd tag it in there.
Yeah. And like knowing what is on my end of the playlist, like I'm not gonna poke
Not
too
gonna knock
hard.
anything too hard.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I said I wasn't gonna get bluegrassy or include a bunch of bluegrass because bluegrass technically is a form of folk music, but
Right.
bluegrass is bluegrass. But this next one is, well, it's pretty definitely bluegrass. This is the Pizza Tapes, and this is Shady Grove. Oh, man. So that's Jerry Garcia singing, of course, David Grisman on mandolin, and Tony Rice on guitar.
Yes.
Tony Rice passed away like a few years back, but like everybody just acknowledges like he was like when it came to like bluegrass guitar.
Yeah, that was amazing. Yeah, completely different vibe. Like that I like a lot.
Yeah, and like Jerry Garcia's voice, man, it's like it's like chocolate chip cookies or something. Yeah, coming home from school. It's like it's just so comforting, and it's so like, I mean, when he does traditional stuff like that,
Yeah.
you know, it's like not everybody likes the Grateful Dead, but it's like he was just a master.
Yeah.
You know, it just came out of him. It was such a natural.
Little callback. I joked pickles with the chocolate and peanut butter flavor combo, and that this will tie back to singing. Trust me. Bananas, chocolate, peanut butter, bananas. That's a Triforce combo. They always have those three flavors at, as far as I know, I've only been twice, to Cold Stone. And it's like, you can pick any flavors and they mix them together and add all your toppings and stuff. And it's like, man, it's like the perfect combination of ice creams. And like, you know, I've worked in the service industry. Like I always take care of service people. Like I'm always kind. I always tip well. And I know, so if you've never been to Cold Stone, when you tip them, they sing. And it's like, I know they know that going into getting the job, but it's still just like, it rubs me the wrong way that it's like,
really?
Yeah.
Or you just feel like you're like too much attention's being drawn to you.
That plus just like you're not an organ grinder monkey. Like can't I just tip you without you having to like perform this like little ditty?
Oh, right.
I don't know. It just feels so gross to me.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like it doesn't feel organic. It feels corporate. And it's like, I know people wouldn't get the job unless they, or like, you know, there are plenty of other ice cream places they could work at, or they wouldn't have to sing if they didn't want to. But, you know, who knows?
I guess a lot of drama kids like go to work there.
Yeah.
I knew somebody like my age that worked there, and he was like a total drama guy, and like he was just into it, though. You know, it's like,
right.
Oh man, it's great. It's like performing every night. It's like,
yeah, not for me.
Okay. Yeah, me neither.
Yeah, so it's probably a good thing. My pants would shrink every year if I went to Cold Stone all the time.
Well, but if you think about like a margarita pizza, it's just like 3 toppings,
right?
Like mozzarella cheese, tomato, basil.
Right. That's all you need.
Like, that's it. Yeah. Like the Pizza Tapes is kind of like that.
Mm-hmm.
And the story goes, I think it's true. I want to believe it's true. The reason they're called the Pizza Tapes is because those guys were just sitting around at Jerry Garcia's house and jamming and just like recording it on a reel-to-reel tape. And they got hungry from like just hanging around and like, hey, let's order a pizza.
Right.
So this was just like a impromptu, you know, like friends hanging out at somebody's house jamming, but they recorded it. And it's known to be like a really high quality recording.
Yeah, it sounded fantastic.
It's like you're there in the room with them. Yeah. But apparently they ordered a pizza. The pizza came. They were all famished. So they just started chowing down on the pizza. And the pizza guy left and took the tapes with him.
Oh, no.
Like, grabbed the tapes. So it didn't get released until recently because the tapes, like, finally turned up somehow.
Oh, weird.
And they called them the pizza tapes because, like, they just figured, like, nobody else was there. Only the pizza guy could have taken the tape.
Weird. So it was like a lost tape kind of thing, lost recording for a while.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
But, oh man, there's like, so much good stuff.
Did the pizza guy steal them or what?
Apparently, yeah.
Weird. What a trip.
They just disappeared. Like, what happened to the tape? Oh, it wasn't me. It wasn't you. It wasn't you. The only other person that was here was the guy that delivered the pizza.
Oh, man.
And came into the house.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, it sounded great. And like, yeah, it's like that's the kind of music that the folksmen from A Mighty Wind were kind of going after.
Yeah, yeah.
Like it definitely had that vibe, but like, you know, not all cornball.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty bluegrassy because, I mean, those guys are all bluegrass masters.
Mm-hmm.
But like with Jerry singing and like just the whole vibe.
Yeah.
You know, like laid back California, hippie jamming. It's like,
but it's not like
perfection.
Yeah, it's not like,
it's not like jam bandy.
Right. Yeah.
It is folky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really good.
And
I like that.
Another great band. Like Jerry Garcia was originally a banjo player, and he played banjo. He played pedal steel for New Riders of the Purple Sage. He played pedal steel on all the pedal steel that's on the Crosby, Stills and Nash albums.
Oh yeah,
which is like amazing. You like Teach Your Children Well and all that stuff. It's like that's Jerry Garcia. So, and I'll cover that in another episode about the Paro. It's the what is it? Planet Earth Rock and Roll Orchestra.
No,
I don't know, but we'll touch on that in a different episode. But yeah, just the connection between all those bands and doing stuff and just hanging around and jamming, like some incredible stuff came out of there. But where was I going with that?
I don't know.
Oh yeah, so he was in a band called Old in the Way, which is just like straight bluegrass with Jerry Garcia playing banjo, and that's some cool stuff too. Kind of like how like all that cosmic American music was basically country played by like a bunch of like California dudes.
Right.
Like this is kind of like what that was, but to bluegrass. It just has a more relaxed vibe than like the Gatekeepers.
Yeah, I just added that to my library. I want to hear more of that.
Okay, the whole album's great, and they have like multiple versions. Like they'll play like a song a couple times, you know, and like do little different things, and it's all so good.
Nice.
So this next guy's another guitar virtuoso, folky guy from British 60s era, 60s and 70s. This is Bert Jansch with Black Water Slide.
That was interesting.
So that's Bert Jansch with Black Water Slide. And now on Led Zeppelin's first album, there's a song called Black Mountainside. And coincidentally, it sounds exactly like that. But in no way did Jimmy Page steal that riff. So, or the name of the song even. Because it's not Black Water Side, it's Black Mountain Side, which is like totally different.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, mountains. And
Bert Jansch is cool.
I mean, there are mountains underwater, and a lot of times there's water on mountains. But, you know, other than that,
it's different.
Completely unrelated.
It's just a coincidence, I think.
I had to order a pizza during that song.
Oh man, nice.
It was like,
Yeah, just don't let him in the door.
no.
Give him a tip. But yeah, Bert Jansch, like he just has a few albums that are just really nice to listen to.
Mhm.
Like cool, great guitar playing. I like the way he sings. Yeah, it's very like English.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, sounds cool.
So staying in England
Mhm.
and staying with the 60s, like we've had a bunch of dudes on here,
Hmm.
but like the ladies do the folk thing too.
Hmm.
So this next one is Linda Lewis. I talk about her all the time, but
Yeah, we've
this
talked
is the
about her
first time
before.
we get to hear her on the podcast. Or no, this is the second time
Yeah.
we get to hear her on the podcast. She started out kind of as a folky kind of thing, like during that time period.
Okay.
So this is Feel the Feeling from Linda Lewis. Kind of an old recording, not the best quality, but I don't know. She's pretty cool.
Totally.
I mean, she's doing the folky thing. It's cool that she can like sing and play guitar too. You know, like not every singer could like accompany themselves.
Right.
But then like, you know, she can't escape like getting a little bit soulful either.
Yeah, I was going to say.
And her voice isn't for everybody. You know, it's like she sings pretty high, but I don't know. I think she's great.
I like that she sings high and she sings low too. Like she was kind of all over the place, but
she had like
in a good way.
5-octave vocal range. Like, yeah, amazing.
Yeah, when she was high, she was like little kid Michael Jackson high. Like,
yeah.
It's like, whoa, holy crap, she's holding it.
So staying with the ladies and ladies who play like cool open tunings on guitar and have really cool voices. And I loved this song when I was a kid growing up. Like it's one of those songs that kind of triggers your imagination. And I don't know, she's done a bunch of stuff, but like to me, like this is how I think of Joni Mitchell. So this is Joni Mitchell with Both Sides Now, or sometimes it goes by the title of Clouds.
Very nice.
Yeah, you know, like thinking about folk, it's like, folk music can be kind of dorky and stuff, but it's like, it can also have great songs that are just like so, I don't know, so human, you know?
Yeah. That like feel like driving down a country road on a summer day. Like,
yeah. And I'm surprised I can like listen to Joni Mitchell at all, because when I lived in Hawaii, like every day you would hear they paved paradise and put up a parking lot, like on some radio somewhere.
Right.
It's like, oh, this song again? Oh, okay.
Right. Which, I mean, isn't
she's
not a
amazing.
bad song, but it's like when you've heard it, heard like
every day.
Yeah, when you've heard like 30 seconds of it every day.
So, yeah, folk music isn't just like country bluegrassy kind of stuff. Like, really, bluegrass came from traditional, you know, Irish or English or Scottish music.
Yeah.
And that's really kind of what started the revival in the 60s in England, was people playing that type of music again.
Right.
Performing it more. So this next one is really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is Pentangle with Willie O. Winsbury.
Yeah, those guys came up in my feed like a couple years ago. And
oh man, they're so good.
Yeah, it's just like
that upright bass sounds so nice.
Yeah, it's just like the whole thing sounds great. And it's just like, oh man, they sound amazing. And it's like, oh wait, dulcimer? Yes. Let's do this.
I think that's a Scottish song, and it's about William Wallace getting some nobleman's daughter pregnant or something.
Like you do.
Yeah. The singer kind of reminds me a little bit of the president of the Flight of the Conchords fan club.
Yeah, I was trying to avoid making fun of weird looking people because we're both weird looking, but that was the second. Actually, that was probably between the wow, this sounds really good and the sweet dulcimer. There needs to be more dulcimer in folk music. Was like the shot of the stand-up bass player and the singer, and me thinking, "Wow, Kristen Schall's parents are really talented." Yeah.
Well, you can be weird looking and cute at the same time.
True. Yeah, and both of those ladies fulfill that. So
yeah.
Anyway.
Okay, this next one, these people will show up in our next episode of Folk Rock. They also do some good, write some beautiful, just traditional style folk songs. So this is Richard and Linda Thompson with A Heart Needs a Home.
And yeah, what an amazing voice.
So beautiful.
Right?
I know. Either the heat went out at the old gray whistle test, or they're just super stylish.
Hey, man, I was wearing a scarf last night.
Oh, man.
It could be cold.
Oh, they're so good.
Yeah. Yeah, like her voice is crystal clear. And just so
no auto-tune back then.
Yeah.
That's live in the studio. It's not pre-recorded.
Yep.
Oh, amazing.
Totally. Yeah, I want to hear more from them. Because she'd get kind of louder and a little more intense, but her voice was still just perfectly smooth the whole time.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, man.
Amazing.
Speaking of beautiful voices, amazing folk music,
mm-hmm.
and the whole local Northern California thing.
Yeah.
I just love this lady. This first one is Kate Wolf with Across the Great Divide. Oh, man.
Pretty good.
It's a cool song.
Yeah.
So many people have covered that.
Mm-hmm.
We've already established that harmonica is a squarely folk instrument.
Yeah.
And blues harmonica is great, but the hobo harmonica type playing,
mm-hmm.
the Willie Nelson, chugging choo-choo thing,
right,
might be the highest form of harmonica.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I never really got into Kate Wolf just because there was so much Northern California.
Yeah, she's a total North Bay institution kind of thing.
I don't know. I had an experience that rubbed me the wrong way. No fault of hers at all. When I was newly minted mail carrier, and there was a Kate Wolf festival going on some rural property out in West County.
Laytonville. Yeah, because the annual Kate Wolf thing is held in Laytonville.
That's the big one, but I guess there are other ones.
There is a major Sebastopol connection.
Yeah, the route I was doing, I probably had, I don't know, half hour, 20 minutes to go, maybe a little longer than that. But it's near the end of the day, and it was summertime, which is really nice out in Sebastopol. And just wanted to get done so I could go home and do something fun. And noticed there was a lot more traffic than usual, out on these tiny little country roads.
Oh, yeah.
And was coming down this one, this dead end road. And there were a whole bunch of people walking and a whole bunch of cars and stuff. And I'm just trying to deliver the mail. And this hippie dude was "Oh, the road's closed. You can't come down here." And I'm like, I'm delivering the mail. And he's like, well, you can't come down. And I'm like, I'm delivering the mail. Come on, Stony. Get out of my way.
Oh, man.
I'm the
Yeah, that's pretty
man.
lame.
Yeah. And so it was just like, dude, you're like volunteer parking attendant for this like dirt hippie gathering. Like, come on, man. GTFO.
Oh, man.
Like, I'm just trying to get done.
Yeah.
Like,
That's
you
not Kate Wolf's fault, though.
No, not at all. But it's just like some friends of mine and I made hay out of that.
Oh, man.
Like, yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
her longtime accompanist, speaking of pizza in Northern California, her longtime accompanist, Nina Gerber, was from Sebastopol.
okay.
And like she was in high school in Sebastopol, and she saw Kate Wolf play at a pizza parlor in Sebastopol.
Whoa.
And was like, I want to play music with you. And like eventually she did. And yeah, Nina Gerber's pretty amazing.
That's cool.
Like amazing guitar player. That might have been her playing the harmonica, because she would play chromatic harmonica, and she'd play mandolin, amazing mandolin, and sing backup vocals. And yeah, just amazing. So yeah, I have one more Kate Wolf song, and my daughter went on a date with this guy, and it just, I don't know, after a while, it just kind of didn't work and stuff, and I could tell it affected her and stuff. So I just like gave her some Kate Wolf to listen to, and I said, listen to this song. Listen to this song here in California. Yeah, if you're from California, like Northern California, the real California, then like this song is totally like relatable. And like it's a great song too. It's like those storyteller kind of songs, you know, like kind of like how John Denver is. Like Kate Wolf was great at that kind of stuff. So here's Here in California from Kate Wolf.
Yep, pretty spot on.
Yeah. And it's a little plain, and like I see it as being like really like if you think of like pH, it's like perfectly neutral. You know, it's like, but sometimes you have to like when you're checking pH doing experiments, like every so often you have to go back and recalibrate your sensor.
Right.
And like, I don't know, Kate Wolf is like this perfectly neutral pH to like recalibrate your musical sensors.
Yeah, I can see that.
You know, like put that on the headphones and like go out and pull some weeds or something, and like it like just puts you in the moment. And like she's all singing about California stuff, you know, and it's like you can like look at the hills and like, oh man, it's like, yeah, it just kind of brings you back down to earth a little bit. Yeah, it's grounding.
Nice. All right, my pie is here. Yeah. I'm going to run and go get it.
Can you send smells through the internet?
I don't know. Should we try it? When you were talking about the margarita pizza, I was like, okay, I'm
gotta have it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And did I tell you about the rabbit hole I went down with the flute song? Like the weird, like, Yugoslavian movie?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like I can never find, like, YouTube clips of, like, some of the coolest parts of that, because there's, like, this Saruman kind of dude, like this old wizard dude that lives in a cave. It's crazy.
Huh.
It's like 40 minutes long, so it's like it's too long to like make people sit through it. It's like, hey, want to watch this weird foreign language movie from the 60s? It was made behind the Iron Curtain. You'll like it.
Maybe.
Yeah. It's got a wizard in it.
Does it take place in the village of the damned or the village of the strange?
Neither. I think there's only like 2 buildings shown. There's like a farmhouse where like the kids live, and then like this weird forest hut where like the little hobbit dude, bespectacled hobbit guy lives.
What's the John Candy one? The something stockings.
Oh
something.
yeah, what is that?
Where like all the kids in the village are all making fun of him, so he just kills them all.
Oh man. Anyway, so my end of the playlist.
Is it time for some hoompa?
Not really.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a polka. There's not really hoompa on it. There's some Schlager music though. Yeah, so I just kind of added these as I thought of them. There's not really much order to this. So my first pick is a Russian band called Otava Yo, and I have no idea. I don't read Cyrillic, so I have no idea what the song title is. I don't know what any other song. Well, I guess I do know what this song is about. It's a song about Cossacks, and I found them because they do a version of Levon's Polka, which is like one of the coolest songs ever. But I was like, okay, I already have one version of that on here. Probably going to have another version of that in the folk metal episode. Like, do we really need the same song done 3 ways? Might be a bit much. I saved the a bit much.
I don't think we're going to have a folk episode. I might be wrong. The list.
Well, folk metal, not yeah. The rest of my playlist, or the end of my playlist, already gets a bit much. So I was like, all right, I'll pick one of Otava Yo's other songs. So this is something about Cossacks. Cossacks Lezginka. I thought you might like this one.
Lords of Leaping.
Yeah, that almost could have gone in the folk rock episode, but I thought the theme of it, like,
there's a little guitar in there, but
yeah,
I
too
wouldn't
much.
call that folk rock, really.
And they do a lot of like traditional songs and stuff, which is cool.
Yeah.
And then like their videos always have like a ton of humor in them, quirky stuff and like fun stuff. And then I thought the theme of it, how they all like, they're like old-timey people living in the modern world, like wishing they lived 100 years ago.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool.
That extra hand gag was pretty good too.
Right. Yeah, you like adjust his glasses. There's still 2 hands on the wash tub. Yeah, it's pretty silly.
Did I ever tell you like my insomnia like occupy my mind, like if I could do it all over again, epic adventure, like dream adventure to take?
Probably.
Did I ever tell you about that?
Let's hear it.
Going with you from the Black Sea to Norca.
Yeah.
With a Ural motorcycle.
Mm-hmm. With a sidecar.
Like a sidecar. Yeah. Like the 2-wheel drive ones.
Mm-hmm.
Take one of those from the Black Sea all the way to Norca.
That'd be cool. Probably won't be able to do it for a while.
I don't know. You could probably do it. I couldn't do it now. Too like old and frail and
well, yeah.
Don't want to fly anywhere.
Yes, there's too many belligerents in that part of the world right now.
Yeah, if we were like single and still in our 20s or something, that'd be a pretty cool trip.
But yeah, that song has a bunch of the stuff that I like flutes and bagpipes and droning, and like I love the like Slavic woman's chorus choir kind of sound too. It's cool. I think it's really pretty.
Yeah, one of my favorite YouTube channels is the Ulangovs.
Mm-hmm. You shared that with me.
Yeah, they just like travel around to all these remote places in Russia and different places, just film the life in these little small villages.
Yeah.
It's really interesting.
Yeah, I forget the name of the channel, but they go all over the place. Like they went to I think it's the highest town in the world. It's in the Andes. It's like the highest the highest city or something. and I think it's a gold mine. It's some kind of mine up in the Andes, and it's like it's so remote and so high up that it's just like it's the wild, wild west. Like there's basically no law enforcement, and like people live really hard, and most people are like pretty cool and friendly, but there's like a lot of violence and like all the stuff you like see in Western movies where it's like, you know, the miners work really hard and they get paid, and like they want to live it up and get drunk, and yeah. But anyway, that same channel went to the remotest village in Europe, and so they went to all these places or they went to this town that was supposed to be the most remote village in Europe, in Georgia. And when they got there, they're like, "Oh, well, you need to go to this other town, like up the hill." And they're like, "Well, how do we get there?" And it's like, "Oh, well, like Yuri can fly you there in the helicopter." Like that's how they send food up the hill. Like, 'cause the roads are just totally impassable. So it's just like, oh, okay. Like, we'll put this month's mail and like the groceries on this helicopter, fly it up the mountain. And there was like a doctor who was like, he was legally blind. Like he had some vision, but like severely vision impaired. And he was like he didn't want to retire because he was basically like the only healthcare for like a whole bunch of people that were up there, like living on these like homesteads up in the mountains. And so like a lot of times he'd like ride his horse because like the road would be like too gnarly to drive on.
Passable.
Yeah. And then he could just like go by himself and not have to like bring anybody else along because his horse knew the way. It was like,
oh, man.
Yeah, all these places, and it was like, I mean, it would kind of suck, but it would also be pretty awesome. Like it was just absolutely gorgeous, and like all the people were just like so insanely friendly.
Yeah,
it was awesome,
hospitable, and
yeah,
give you what's there.
Yeah, it looked like a pretty cool place.
I got hooked on this series of books like years back. Can't remember when they came out, but it's the Ringing Cedars. Do you know that?
Mm-mm.
Those books? Like, I don't know. They're kind of weird, but I just read them as like kind of like fantasy or whatever.
Okay.
But it's the Ringing Cedars, and it's a whole series of books, and it's about this guy who was a barge captain on the Volga.
Okay.
And like he would be hauling lumber and stuff like that on his barge, and somehow he ended up like just out in the taiga, and he met this woman called Anastasia, and she has like all these like full on like pagan mystical powers and stuff.
Oh.
And it's like he like falls in love with her and like just wants to stay with her, and she just teaches him all these things about like just living out in the forest and stuff.
Dang.
It's kind of interesting, but I guess in Russia they were really popular, and they kind of spawned this whole like back to the earth kind of movement.
Nice.
Or like back to nature kind of movement.
Mm-hmm.
But then it kind of became like this kind of like new agey thing where it's like, oh, well, that really happened.
Oh,
and
right.
Anastasia's a real person, and you know, like the guy who wrote the books like didn't do anything to downplay any of that,
right?
Because they just got more and more popular,
mm-hmm.
And it kind of became this whole like folklore thing. But the books are interesting, and there's just interesting stuff in them. It's like well, some of this stuff makes sense. It's like, how would this guy come up with this thing I've never heard before that kind of makes sense?
Right.
And yeah, I don't know. But it's interesting. It's very...
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, yeah, I'm so fascinated by that part of the world because, like, it's behind the Iron Curtain when we were kids. And then it's just like there's so much culture that we were never really exposed to. And it's just like, man, what would it be like? Like, all the people seem totally friendly. Like, we were supposed to be their enemies and we're supposed to be their enemies now. But it's like, well, if all of our leaders met the right end of a guillotine, we could all be friends. Like, if all of our oligarchs like got what was coming to them, like, yeah, we could. We might be singing "Kumbaya" in a different language,
is done being filled.
Yeah,
yeah.
But yeah, I always have fantasies like that of just like, and what would it be like to like go visit all those places? One of the other YouTube channels I got hooked on for a little bit, but I kind of fell off. It was like this British dude, and he was like basically just hitchhiking all over Asia. And like he was in like Western China, like in the Uyghur region. And it's like, oh man, yeah, like being an American's cool, but also like kind of sucks for international travel. But it's like, if you're a British dude, you can just go anywhere. Like nobody really cares anymore.
Well,
I mean, not anywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, you'll get cold shoulders in Argentina for sure, deservedly. But yeah, just like he was in like Western China, and just like all of the people that he encountered, like all these truck drivers, and they were like super friendly. And then like he went to this campground, and like these ladies were like, "Whoa, where are you from? Like, come have dinner with us. Like, tell us about England. Like that's crazy. Like, what brought you here?"
I think that's how most people are, like,
and like,
yeah, if you
like
don't fabricate these like necessary like enemies to like manipulate people or
and like the police came, and it was like, in America, like it might be an issue, but it was just, they were like, well, we just want to make sure you're okay. Like do you have someplace to stay? Like, are you like they were looking out for him. And it was like, whoa. And they were like, okay, yeah, like as long as you have a plan and you're not just like some crazy dude wandering around. I mean, he was crazy, but like, he wasn't a threat to himself or others. And so the police were like, dude, so you're from England? Like, tell us about England.
Yeah,
it was
people
like
are curious. They want to know.
Yeah, it was totally crazy and just like totally awesome. I was like, oh man. Yeah, you were talking about the ringing cedars, and I don't remember the name of it. They made a movie of it, and they left out the weirdest part, or well, the two weirdest parts, about I forget where he was from. It was some dude, maybe he was British. I can't remember, but like some dude that like got captured and was like in a gulag in Siberia, and like he and these two other guys escaped and just like left, and like they didn't really have that tight of security because it was just like the middle of nowhere, and they're like, Yeah, like if you try to escape, you're just gonna, if you don't freeze to death, you're just gonna come back. Because there's nothing else here. And so they went alongside like Lake Baikal and like had to hide from like all these fishing boats and stuff, and then like went over the Himalayas and stuff, and like eventually made it to India, and like I don't know, it was like this cool like epic adventure, and there were like a couple really implausible parts, and then it's like there's like zero evidence that like that guy was never in the RAF. That guy was never over there. Like there's no record of him being anywhere.
No, man.
And it's like
That's
dang it.
kind of a letdown.
Yeah. Yeah, like one of the stories was they were like going through the forest and they heard like this musical instrument, and they're like they hadn't heard a musical instrument in like 3 years. And so they were like, we want to check it out, but we also want to avoid everybody. And so they like cautiously approached, and it was a bear that like this tree had fallen over and like broken off of its stump. And there was like this like heartwood spike sticking up out of the stump. And the bear was like pulling on it and letting go of it and letting it like twang.
Oh, man.
And they're like, what is this? It's like, I mean, it's plausible, but it's also like if a bear or if a tree falls in the forest, does it make a sound? Like only if a bear plucks it. And but then like when they were in the Himalayas, like they were like climbing down this mountain, like going kind of from ledge to ledge, and like they saw this like group of Yeti like walking in a circle over and over again. And it's like
on the YouTube channel?
No, from this book that the guy.
Oh,
yeah, the Siberian.
I thought you were still talking about the British guy hitchhiking.
No.
Oh.
No, this is like a book that was written in like the 50s or whatever.
Ah.
Yeah. But then it's like there's no record of him ever doing anything remotely like it. It's like, oh man.
Yeah, there's some stuff like that out there.
Yeah, moving on. So from Russia, we go to the other side of the lake region to Finland. And these guys came up probably because I listened to so much Finnish folk metal that they're like, okay, well, here's some Finnish folk music. And it was like, okay, well, this isn't folk metal, but I love it. And I'm going to get all their albums. So this is a band called Slackbird doing their version of Levon Polka. And I know I've played this for you before. Yeah, it's one of my favorite songs of all time. It's so good.
Man, I don't think I could dance the polka to that, though. So fast.
Yep. Yeah, it's kind of like the Finnish version of an Irish reel, where it's like it starts out kind of fast and just keeps getting faster and faster until you're just spinning around the dance floor.
Yeah. Yeah, my friend Chip lived in Finland for a while.
Oh, really?
He said, like, all the people over there act just like you. Like you would totally fit in over there.
Yeah, and it's as much as I think that, and as much as I love Finland, it's like I don't know if we're tough
Oh
enough.
no, I freeze to death here in California.
Yeah,
I would never handle it. But
I
like as
I might be
far
able
as
to
like demeanor,
adapt. Yeah, but it's also just like the toughness, like the whole sisu thing,
yeah,
where it's just like, yeah, I don't know. We've got too much Ross in us. We'd be like, it's too hard here. Let's go somewhere else.
right. Keep moving.
Yeah. But yeah, it's like, yeah, the people seem so cool. I don't know. There's no small talk in Finland, so it might be kind of weird, but also kind of awesome.
Well, I'm not really a small talky kind of person,
Neither am
even
I.
though we have a podcast. Like,
Right.
yeah,
But it's like that's not really small talk. You know, it's not just like, "Oh, hey, how are you? How are the
yeah.
kids?" or whatever, you know.
Maybe that's why you said I would fit in over there.
Maybe. But it's just like, can we talk about food or music or whatever?
Yeah,
What kind of car you're gonna get for the summer rally circuit?
for the thaw.
Yeah. No one asks you how your reindeer sausage is tasting at the restaurant. Might be kind of nice.
Well, it's cool that like you could go to a backyard party or like a little small festival setting or like a summer in the park kind of thing
Mm-hmm.
and hear music like that. Like here, if you go somewhere like that, it's going to be like some lame cover band or something,
Yeah.
like, or a DJ, it's like,
True.
all right, so what do you got next? Another pretty girl with an accordion?
No. Yeah, so speaking of American music, this band is from Sonora, California, and I first found them in probably the coolest museum I've ever been to. I've been to a bunch of really cool museums, but the Columbia River Maritime Museum in Astoria, Oregon, is hands down the coolest museum I've ever been to. It just incredible exhibits and like really cool. Like tells you the whole history, tells you how crazy the Columbia River Bar is, and yeah, just amazing. It's so extreme that when the Coast Guard wanted to test an unsinkable rescue vessel, they designed it at the in New Orleans, and they're like, well, the Mississippi Delta like isn't extreme enough, and like we could send it out to Florida, but like hurricanes come around once in a while. Like we need to send it somewhere where it's just going to get torture tested, and so they sent it to the Astoria, Oregon, to rescue stuff like from the graveyard of the Pacific.
Yeah, that was that whole area was supposed to really be developed as sort of like the west coast of the United States, but it's just too tough.
It's too tough.
It's not like San Francisco Bay.
Yeah, it's not a sheltered harbor.
There's no port really.
Yeah, so like Portland, which is like 50 miles inland, became the port because it was like far enough away from like the extremes. And so it's like this whole exhibit about this just absolute main character energy, like hero of this like little boat that could. And they have this display, and they have like all these like all this signage and all this stuff you can read, and then like this like I don't know 20-minute little documentary thing playing on a screen, and it's just like holy crap. And they're like, and that whatever vessel 001 is now on display at the Columbia River Maritime Museum. And it's like they had this display with this boat with these like mannequins and this wave, and they're like, there's like a man overboard and like the guys on the boat are rescuing him and stuff. And it's like you fall in love with this little hero of a boat, and you're like, that's him right there. Yeah, it was just amazing. It was like, I don't know, Erica and I were like kids in a candy store, just like, oh man, this is insane. So our sister,
and that guy formed a folk band.
No, I'll bring it back to the podcast. Our sister is a museum director, and I've always wanted to take her up there because it's like, Kari, you got to check out this museum. It's so crazy. Like, so that's one of my achievable dreams, is getting Kari or going to this museum with Kari.
Yeah, meet up with her next time she hits Portland for some reason.
Yeah. So anyway, in the gift shop, they had a rack of CDs, and I was like, whoa. Okay. Like, we've been listening to a bunch of music on this road trip. Yeah, let's get this CD of shanties by the Black Irish Band. And it was like, oh, they've got a couple of them. All right, we'll get both of them then. So that's how I found this band, out in the wilds of Astoria, in like full on Goonies land.
Wait, what kind of shanty?
A shanty.
Like Michael Shanty and Spearhead?
No. Although this song, if you listen to the lyrics, and I love this song. This is one of the handful of songs that I know by heart. I can sing the whole song without listening to it. I know all the words. It's about a landlubber pretending to be a sailor.
Ah.
So
Stolen Valor.
Very much so. So yeah, this is the Ballad of Paddy West by the Black Irish Band.
Pretty good.
Yeah, I love that song so much because it's like a finishing school for sailors, but like totally phony. Like, take off your dungaree jacket and give yourself a rest. Like, it ain't that hard. You can fake it. And and like all the tests and stuff are totally phony. And then like, yeah, like putting the length of rope on the ground and like, because crossing the line is like you've been on both sides of the equator. You've sailed across the equator. And it's like, well, there's that line, but then you also call ropes lines. So now you can tell them that you've crossed the line. And then like...
and around the horn.
Yeah. Walk around that table with the bull head on it. You can tell them you've been 10 times around the horn. Oh, wow.
Yeah. Going around the horn looks pretty gnarly.
Yeah, right? Yeah, it looks like the cover of the CD there.
Pretty much.
But yeah, so there's a guy that used to play at the Pirate Fest out in Vallejo. And then he and like this like chorus of musicians and singers plays down at the docks at the Dickens Fair. And he goes by the name Paddy West.
Ah.
Because I think that's like a Jack Tar kind of name, like a euphemistic or like character.
Yeah.
Sailing everyman kind of thing. But yeah, Paddy West.
Huh. Cool.
Yeah. It's just I love the like Patty pipes all hands on deck, stations for to man, while his wife stood in the garden with a bucket in her hand. She let go of that bucket, let the water fly on its way. Patty, he cries. What is it? Yeah, now I can't remember what the lyrics after I bragged about knowing all the lyrics. But yeah, like she's taken in the spray, like batten down the hatches kind of thing. It's just a house. So awesome.
Funny.
Yeah, and then it's like the rest of the songs on that CD are also pretty cool. They have a bunch of cool ones.
Bunch of sea shanties for the most part.
A bunch of shanties, yeah. But they do like a really awesome version of The Derelict, which is super cool.
Oh, cool.
Or, if you're a lubber, bottle of rum. Everybody knows The Derelict. But lubbers know it by yo ho ho and a bottle of rum. If you've been around the horn Disney 10 times, you know it is The Derelict. It's so grim. It's just like they come across this ship and everybody on it is dead and they're trying to figure out why. And it's just like, ooh, it's rough. Like,
yeah,
like the whole crew just like killed each other. It's pretty awesome. Very graphic descriptions of 15 dead men. And then one of the other cool things why shanties are so popular, and much like folk music had a revival, like during COVID, people did the bunch of versions of the Wellerman. But like shanties are pretty cool because the choruses are almost always the same. So it's like, even if you don't know the song, like after a couple, like by the time the third chorus rolls around, and it's like verse, chorus, verse, chorus, verse, chorus, verse, chorus. So by the time the third one rolls around, like having never heard the song can sing along to at least part of it. So it kind of pulls you in, and it's like they're intended to be like sung along to. Like oftentimes is like a working song. Like one of the songs they do on this Dark Oceans album is what do they call it? Like Heave and Rally is one of them, but there's another term for it where it's like a team of people working in unison and trying to like coordinate their movements. There's a lot of like mining songs and like jail songs, like break and rock kind of songs that are the same way.
Yeah, there's like a pattern to them.
Yeah.
I noticed something like, well, because I was thinking like, with shanties, there's like Sloop John B or whatever by the Kingston Trio.
Mm-hmm.
The Kingston Trio is like definitely folk scare folk.
Totally.
But I was thinking about my list, and banjo is conspicuously absent from any of my picks. And so far, every one of your picks has had banjo in it.
No banjos, no accordions. I don't want to say I'm disappointed because this next song doesn't have a banjo or an accordion. So,
thank God. I mean, oh, okay. Well, I guess it wasn't a pattern as much as I thought it was then.
Oh, okay. So you're relieved that I also have a song that you're off the hook for not having accordion and.
I'm just not a big fan of banjo.
What? It's so cool though. So banjo is your prog? Is that what I'm hearing?
It could be.
All right. Tuck that away for later.
To torture me with?
No. It's not what this podcast is
I don't
about.
mind some banjo. Like, I don't mind strummed banjo in, like, Dixieland.
You just don't like the claw hammer?
Yeah, and I like open-backed banjo. No, I like claw hammer, too. What's the guy that used to be on the Marty Stewart show?
Mm,
I like that kind of stuff.
okay.
But just like the really like loud, tinny sounding. Yeah, it's not one of my favorite sounds.
I like it.
It's all too it pokes out too much in the mix.
Yeah,
Like
and it can be overused.
hogs
Like
this,
same.
just hogs the spotlight from
Yeah.
everything else. Like if you have a banjo in the band, you're not gonna have any kind of like balance or harmony.
That's not
It's
true.
just gonna be doing its own thing, you know.
Yeah, not always.
It's like there's the banjo.
Yeah, when it's overused, because like when I was talking about the connection between Katati and accordions, part of the reason I'm not like at the accordion festival all weekend long is like a good 45% of it, if not more, is Zydeco, like a bunch of like it's too repetitive, and it's like I like one Zydeco song a year. But when it's just like it's a bunch of like Sonoma County boomers like dancing around to Zydeco, it's just like just over and over again. It wears thin pretty quick. It's like, man, but what if it was like Schlager music or Slackbird or yeah. And like a couple times, what's her name? Lady that used to be in Turasauce uh, has come to the Katati Accordion Festival, which is cool. Not playing Zydeco. Anyway, yeah. So some nerves might be tested coming up. So anyway, back to the sea. This is Jerry Bryant and Starboard Mess doing Don't Forget Your Old Shipmate.
Yeah, like as far as song structure, that's like a literal chorus.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, it's probably I don't think I'm going out on much of a limb, much of a yard arm by thinking that's the oldest song on the playlist. So it's definitely old timey. It's over 200 years old. So
I don't know, that Willie O. Winsbury might be older.
maybe. It's hard to say.
Maybe.
I almost added Wild Rover because that's one of the oldest songs, like one of the oldest European songs anyway. Like that song's at least 600 years old. It's crazy.
And there was no banjo or accordion in that one.
Nope. Nary an instrument.
So are these all like just like a pirate thing or something?
What? No.
It's like a sailing folk music.
Yeah.
Okay.
Shanties. Okay. So my next pick.
More pirate songs?
No more pirate songs.
Okay. Whew.
Although this next song does take place on an island.
Oh.
So at some point, I do want to take a deep dive into this whole soundtrack because I love it so much. And there's a lot to talk about because it's one of my favorite movies ever. And it definitely has a very folk forward soundtrack that like ties in with the movie. And I could have added the actual song, but I think I'll save the whole song for when we do an episode specifically about the movie and its soundtrack.
Oh, you could have had it on last week.
I could have, but then it was like, well, which one do I pick? And I do want to talk about like just all of them because they're all super cool. like all the songs. So this is Magnet doing The Landlord's Daughter from The Wicker Man.
Oh, Magnet, right. Man.
Yeah. Sergeant Howie ruining everybody's
The
fun.
movie is a classic.
Yeah.
Man. I remember when we first saw that. Me and Ben Fischler watched it. We kept talking to each other like that. The Wicker Man.
Yeah. So I watched like a film buff critique of The Wicker Man on YouTube. And like famously, it was Christopher Lee's favorite movie that he worked on. And like it always had a special place in his heart. And he just like he loved the whole thing. And like that was his favorite movie that he ever worked on. Like, and he was in some legendary stuff. And so there was a whole discussion in the comments on this film critique about which antagonist like was Christopher Lee's best. And so people were like, oh yeah, Saruman or Count Dooku or no, Lord Summerisle and blah 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 and like Dracula and blah blah blah. And so my response to this whole thing was, whoa. I believe you mean protagonist. 1, believes the crops will succeed next year. 2, believes in the power of women. 3, kills. Those are all protagonist things. It's like, he wasn't the bad guy in that movie. He was the protagonist. He was the good guy.
Right.
Anyway, yeah, I just love that movie. And I love how it's like, it's really only a horror movie. I mean, it kind of is because, it's like as much fun.
Well, it's like psychological or whatever.
Yeah, and like as much fun as like their like pagan cult is, like they're actually killing a guy, which is pretty lame. It's like he does a great job. Like even though Sergeant Howie is like such a hard ass and such a putz. I mean, he's good at his job. He's not a putz. He's just such a ramrod. But then, like, that actor, like, actually still makes him charismatic. Like, you still feel for him, even though he's, like, such a ramrod. But yeah, it's like, it's really only a horror movie if, like, you totally embrace that character. And then the fact that it's just, like, it's more musical than anything else. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Like, it's only a horror movie in the same way that, like, the Rocky Horror Picture Show is a horror movie.
Oh, man.
It's like, it's a musical, dude.
So does this next video have I see the band name, but I don't see a featuring, how like videos will have the band and then featuring the FT, like FT, like featuring
No.
Doja Cat or whatever. So this one I don't see featuring Tim Conway.
No, Tim Conway's not in the band.
Is that missing though from the title?
No, you're not.
Tim Conway's not in this next video?
No. What are you talking about?
I don't know.
Is Tim Conway in the Osmonds? No.
This is the Osmonds?
This is the Swiss version of the Osmonds. This is the Osh family. I mean, this will... I chose this one out of all their songs. I mean, this is as Schlager music as Schlager music gets. Like, I love this band, and they're a family band. Like, dad plays the accordion, the mom and the daughter sing, the sons play guitar. And I picked this one because Im Dorf means like in town. And so it kind of has like a Sesame Street, like these are the people in your neighborhood kind of thing.
Wait, what is it again? Imdorf?
Imdorf.
Oh. thought it said I'm Dorf.
No. It's German.
Okay.
Eric,
Oh.
get with the program.
I thought Dorf was going to be in this video. Talk about stolen valor.
Wow. All right. Moving.
How can this guy claim to be Dorf if he's not even really Dorf?
Moving on. I'll let you put your knees in your shoes if it'll make you feel better.
That might help.
Yeah. So this is like, well, they're even like a step above the Osmonds because like the parents, the Osmonds were just the kids.
Yeah, they weren't like multi-generational.
And it was just the boys. Like Marie had a solo career and sometimes she'd play with the boys.
Right. She wasn't part of the Osmonds.
Okay, yeah. So this band blows the doors off the Osmonds.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, anyway.
Let's see.
So I chose this one because it introduces all the family members and they're portraying the people in town, which is pretty fun. And it's like I could do a deep dive on this band, but we would lose all of our listeners and I'd lose my co-host. So this is...
Well, I can hang in there so long as there's not banjo.
I can't guarantee that there's not banjo. And there is banjo for some songs. I don't think in this one. So in Germany and Switzerland, like they have this like not fetishized in a kinky way, but like fetishized in like a cliche way. This like fascination with like American Western culture. And so there's like
yeah, like the whole like Buffalo Bill, like Native American, like chaps.
Yeah, and just like cowboy stuff.
Yeah, just all that stuff.
Yeah. And so like there's a whole subgenre of Schlager music that's like cowboy Schlager music. It's weird.
Oh, man.
And so I almost did a couple of their songs, but I was like, all right, I'll just do this M. Dorf one. It introduces all the family members. It's pretty cute. It's a good song. So I got to get a running start because it's Swiss German. Bosches de Dritten playing M. Dorf.
It's pretty good.
Family band. It's pretty cheesy, but they're from Switzerland, where some of the best cheese in the world comes from. And it's like, come on, is your heart made out of stone? Like, just be happy. Like, look how pretty the countryside is. Like,
I think
just listen,
that kind of
let the yodel
music,
soothe you.
I might be mistaken, but like if I think like inside our father's brain,
Mm-hmm.
I think that like he felt that not only was that kind of stuff what YouTube was invented for, but like just the internet in general was invented so that you could bring up a song like that and watch the video.
And I watched a ton of this band and their videos with Dad.
Okay.
So
yeah.
I hold those exact same beliefs that it's like this is why we're all connected via the internet. So I can have a direct pipeline to all this glorious Schlager.
Yeah, there's no way Al Gore invented the internet because this is why the internet was invented.
Yeah, and I don't think Al Gore is into yodeling, so
I don't think so.
Yeah.
We know what kind of music Tipper doesn't like.
Yeah. The filthy 15. Okay. So while we've got the ball rolling down the Alps, just gonna power through before you realize how much yodeling is on the playlist.
Oh man.
And probably the like Roy Clark or I don't know, like Bob Dylan or like if there is one yodeling icon it's Franza Lang. So this is Franza Lang with my Vata is an Alpenzeller. So my dad is like a mountain climber. Yeah, so
You know,
yeah,
you know which folk musicians are killer yodelers?
who?
Hawaiians.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like Hawaiian country western yodeling,
Mm-hmm.
like Paniolo music.
Yeah.
It's like super rare, super unheard, but it's like,
Oh, it's not.
like
Uh,
total chicken skin music.
yeah. Oh man. Or schmaltz if you're Swiss German. So Osh die Dritten does a couple.
Oh, and is it the Cowboy Connection kind of thing?
Well, they do Aloha Oi, and they have another Hawaiian song. But yeah, yeah, I don't think it's a direct Pineola connection, but like there is like a Hawaiian connection, and yodeling is global. So Franza Lang, like, I kind of want to learn how to yodel because at the like my local pub does an Oktoberfest celebration every year, and they have a yodeling contest, and it's like nobody actually knows how to yodel.
Nobody ever enters it.
Well, no, people enter it, but it's all just like, the only yodeling that they know is Julie Andrews doing the lonely cow herd or goat herd. And it's like, yeah, that's not really yodeling. In fact, like I can pull up on my phone, like Maria von Trapp, like teaching Julie Andrews how to yodel on TV because she wasn't actually yodeling so it's like what you're doing isn't really yodeling. And it's like, okay, if I was going to learn how to yodel, like, well, clearly you want to like emulate the best, right? And it's like, no, Franza Lang is just like disappointing. It's like, well, I'll never be that good. I'll never be able to do it that
Yeah, he's
fast.
got a pretty high register too.
Yeah. So it's like
I can barely talk.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Yodel.
So it's just like I gotta find somebody who's not Franza Lang and like go from there.
Oh man.
Like, okay,
yeah,
I might be able to be half as good if I practice for 10 years. So I'm not the only one who thought this way. I'm just the only one who got discouraged. So Takio Ishii grew up in Tokyo, Japan, and found a Franza Lang record at a record store and was like, I've never heard anything like this. This is crazy. And taught himself how to yodel listening to Franza Lang. And then went to Switzerland and like became a yodel sensation, like playing the Schlager music circuit.
Nice.
And so this is Takio Ishii with Clarinetten Muckle Yodeler. I don't know. Takio Ishii. Check this dude out. He's amazing.
Oh man.
So he went to Switzerland and like started performing, and then like Franza Lang met him and was like, dude, you're awesome. Like, let me show you the ropes. And so like he met his hero, and like his hero like totally launched his career.
Under his wing.
Yeah. It was just like, that's so awesome. What a cool story. And then it's just like, this dude's so goofy. It's like,
yeah. I was just, when I was watching that, I was thinking like, guy shows up in Europe. I have a particular set of skills. Overly, what's your particular set of skills? You're kind of out of place here. What's your particular set of skills?
Yep.
Oh man, I like how he's like grabbing all the like flea market items or whatever. Like, I don't know what this is, but like,
yeah, so crazy,
so good.
So,
oh, man.
I'm glad you can appreciate his zaniness, because like Franz Lang passed away in the early 90s, but Takio's still alive and still going. And so there's I won't make you watch all of it, but I found this trailer for it for the TCU, the Takio Cinematic Universe.
Man.
Okay, here we go.
Oh man, what the heck was that?
You want to know more?
Chicken pig attack?
Yeah.
Oh, rat attack?
Yeah.
It's like yodel foo or something.
Mm-hmm.
What's with the outfits?
Have I piqued your
interest?
interest?
Man, this is like total fever dream kind of stuff.
So,
oh man,
do you want to know more about the yodel of justice?
Oh man, it's a superpower. It's not just a particular set of skills. It's a literal superpower.
Yeah,
man.
So, yeah. Do you want to watch one of them?
Maybe after we close out.
Okay. Yeah, it's like man. I discovered this. Like, I've listened to Franz Lang for years, and the Swiss band for years, decades even. And then it was like, whoa, Takio Ishii, what? Oh wow, he's really good. Oh man, he's a total goofball. Man, I like this guy. And it was like, wait, Rat Attack? What? What's happening?
Man, it's so crazy.
It's so crazy. And it's just like, man, like, I love people who don't take themselves seriously. And it's like, this is the most ridiculous thing ever.
That chicken special effect was amazing.
Yeah. Like, they're really well done, and they're funny, and like, it's just like, dude, it's Takio Ishii. Like, come on.
Yeah, he just knows it's like such a nutty thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, just lean into it.
Yeah. It's so good.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts on folk music?
Yeah. Not only was I inspired to eat a pizza by the Pizza Tapes, I want to hear the whole rest of that album. That was really good.
Yeah, I kind of want to just listen to more folk for a while, I think.
Yeah, and it's like, I like that kind of thing. That it's like, as much as I like going to a concert and like seeing a band perform, that's only been a thing for like maybe 150 years. Like, music is supposed to be like, or for much of human history, and continues to be like, oh yeah, just somebody like in a church hall or like a pub, or somebody
it was
like a
living room.
Social
thing. It was you wanted common songs you could sing together.
Yeah.
Like, I remember when James came over from Scotland, he and Grandpa like jammed a little bit and sang some songs together. And it was super cool. I have a picture of it. Like, Grandpa's playing the Dane Electro that I have.
Oh, nice.
It's like with folk music, it's like you have that commonality and everybody can join in and sing, and you can like get together with your friends. And I mean, bluegrass is still kind of like that. There's like standards,
right?
You got to learn this song and this song and this song, and you get in a circle and kind of jam. And yeah, I mean, that's kind of how it used to be.
Yeah, kind of like how it should stay. Like,
yeah, well, I don't know. I like the artistry of original music and stuff too.
I do too.
But
it's like, you can only get so much from like listening to like some pop artist's song. Whereas, like, you know, if you know the words and you're singing along,
I guess that's why people listen to cover bands now, because it's like, oh, I know the words to this. You know what I mean?
right?
Yeah, and I guess the closest thing we have here is like wedding bands or something, you know, or like you have just people from throughout the community, all ages, all shapes and sizes, getting together for a social function.
Right.
Yeah, like the closest thing we have here is like a wedding band.
Mm-hmm. Playing covers and top 40
Yeah.
stuff. Righty. So next week.
So next week will be folk rock.
Mm-hmm.
So all the stuff that we wanted to put on here but didn't because it was electrified or had drums,
Mm-hmm.
or is like more up tempo or upbeat or rambunctious.
Right.
Yeah, just something you need electricity to play.
Right.
You need plugs on the stage and amplifiers. Yeah, folk rock.
So would Celtic punk fall under that category?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Good to know.
Yeah, it's not folk metal.
No.
So, yeah, I'm thinking just, well, like, you know, Bob Dylan was kind of the guy that really kicked off the whole folk thing. And then famously at the Newport Folk Festival, he brought an electric backup band with him and basically got booed the whole time
Cardinal Thin.
because it wasn't trad enough, you know? Yeah. So I'm thinking just from that transition, like all the cool stuff that happened because people started using electric guitars in music and amplifying it. And yeah.
Yeah, I got some picks. Should be fun.
Okay, cool. So as always, if you have any of your favorite, let us know.
Yeah.
Leave comments on the video or shoot us an email, and we'll see you next week. And we'll see you next week, part 2 of Folk You Wary.
Man, we're sticking with that, huh? All right. Thanks for listening.
Yep. Bye.
Checking out music with my bro. Willing to dig it, yes or no? Here we